Bonbini, Bonbini. That is welcome in the native tongue here on Curaçao. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Spiritual Remedy. My name is Sunshine, and what a joy it is to greet you today. And to just I want to know what happened for you over the weekend. Let me know where you are tuning in from and what's happening. Say hello. What's been a highlight for your weekend? I will share with you that on a spiritual remedy, I see a world where people in recovery, people who are moving away from their weapons of mass distraction, where we're living our best life and loving it. And what that means for me is that we are putting away the drugs, the alcohol, the gambling, the overeating, the sex, the gambling, all of the stuff that that has been distracting us from living our best life. And we're now really focusing on doing the things and being the people that we are here to be. I want to thank Vida Spiritual Learning Center for hosting and for being the producers of this show at Vida Spiritual Learning Center. What we do is we provide spiritual tools and loving support for your personal transformation. That's what we do on the show here. What are you up to these days? Tell me. While you're typing that into the chat, I want to let you know that I celebrated a natal birthday. I have been on this planet for 60 years, and on Thursday, the 13th of April, I celebrated 60 years. And I got to tell you, I can't tell the difference between celebrating 30 years or 40 years or 50 years or 60 years. Like, I'm just loving my life. And it is amazing to simply be and to enjoy and love my life. Let's say hello to a few people. Good morning, Jan Ford. How grateful I am to have you on the show today. Thanks so much for showing up. Also want to again just shout out Vida Spiritual Learning Center for showing up. Wow. Today I am given to really speak about support and how we support one another on this road of recovery, on this road of restoration. And you might ask, what are we recovering from? What are we restoring? And what comes to mind when I think about that is restoring ourselves to our wholeness, to the whole and complete person that we are. I want to look at how we may have turned to drugs, to alcohol, to sex, to gambling, to overeating, how we may allow ourselves to be distracted by social media. I'm telling you, these cell phones are also a weapon of mass distraction. Though they are an amazing tool, when we get addicted to the stimuli that comes from it, what begins to happen, just like with any drug or alcohol or any weapon of mass distraction, is we begin to turn away from the self, the complete self, the whole and complete self, who we really are, and recognizing who we really are. And we begin to believe that we are something less than we truly are. Now, I know that there are people, including myself, when I allowed myself to be distracted by drugs, by alcohol, by all kinds of things, when I allowed that to happen, I began to believe that I was my story and that I was all of the things that I thought I was, even to believe that I was my social identities. Um, how are you, Alina? So good to have you with us today. Thanks for tuning in. I started believing that I was my social identities, and I'm not my social identities. I am not my diseases, the things that move me out of my ease and my grace. Who I am is life itself. Who I am is a unique, unrepeatable, magnificent, dynamic, powerful way that life shows up in human form. Many of us may also say how higher power shows up in human form. I am not my disease. I am not my alcoholism. I am not my drug addiction. I am not my weapon of mass distraction. Those are the things that have commandeered my attention, and those are not that's not who I am. So it is not who you are. And even though in many programs we are taught to say, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a drug addict, I'm a sex offender, I'm a gambler, or things of that nature, and we're taught to say that that's who we are, that is not who we really are. That might be what we have become as a result of moving our attention there. Now, I'm not saying anything against any 12-step program. 12-step program saved my life. I am just asking us to take a look at what we put behind the sentence I am, behind the phrase I am, because what it is that we put behind that is what we become. Bertha, I love you. You always know exactly what I need to hear. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that this is exactly what you need to hear today. Because, for me, how do we restore ourselves to our wholeness? How do we recover? And what are we really recovering was the original question. And for me, when I think about that identification, I think it's absolutely, like spot on. And it was spot on for the day and the time. I wonder if in fact, like Proctor says, you don't say I am hand, you say I have a hand, right? I wonder if saying I have alcoholism or I have addiction or I have a different order of whatever it is, if that actually tweaks the mind and propels us forward into believing and recognizing that we can recover. So it's interesting because we do recover, but what are we recovering, right? So I believe that we recover our sense of wholeness. I don't believe that we recover, quote unquote, the ability to drink or to use drugs or to engage in reckless behavior. I don't believe that we magically don't have an adverse reaction to these things, as much as I believe, and I actually can say that I know after 36 years of sobriety and recovery myself, that I believe and I know that who we recover and what it is that we recover is we recover this idea of who we really are in life, in God, in spirit, in higher power. And that by getting honest with ourselves in terms of this is what I have, that we actually, there's a differentiation. I love what Alina, thank you, Alina, what you're saying here is like, I love, therefore I am, right? So I love that. And then Bertha, what Bertha is saying here, not I am sad, instead, in this moment, I feel sad. Interesting how even in that terminology, how I'm feeling sadness right now. I feel sad, or I feel happy. I'm grateful, or I feel a sense of gratitude, right? Like, who I am and the things that I'm experiencing, whether it's a dis-ease or an addiction of sorts, compared to what I label myself. Is what I am labeling myself helping me or hindering me? Is it in the long run putting me down or limiting me, or am I unlimited by saying I am this or I have this? Hello, Lydia. Glad you're with us this morning. Thank you. And hey, Mahogany, I love you so much. It's so good to have you with us today as well. So I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic. Leads to like once an addict, always an addict, that mentality that I'm never going to climb out of this doom and destruction and this image, or I have addiction, or I have alcoholism, just like some people might say I have diabetes, but I am not diabetes. You know, that's not who I am. And so I think that in the long term of recovery, that as we begin to just take a look at what worked back in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, the 70s, 80s, and 90s of the last century, and now really looking into this century, words matter. Words matter. And am I limiting myself by calling myself an alcoholic or an addict? And how do I really recover if I'm constantly labeling myself that with a meaning behind it, as if I can never really recover? Because what I do recover is my full self. Now, of course, in all kinds of recovery, what we get an opportunity to do, right? The spirituality behind all of this, for me, is recognizing a higher power, recognizing life, recognizing the perfection that is life. And so even for a moment of just entertaining life, I'm here on this beautiful island of Curacao in the Dutch Caribbean, near Aruba and Bonaire. And life here is very, very slow. It's very peaceful. It's very hot. I don't know if you could tell that I'm sweating a little bit. And I'm enjoying my life. I'm enjoying life. There's a meeting here once a week on Thursdays. Once a week on Thursdays, right? Now, this idea of spirit, of higher power, of life, when I recognize that there is a power and a presence and a creative intelligence that has created everything, that has created the galaxy and the sun and the sky and the ocean and all of the animals, when I recognize and I pause for a moment to be in awe of whatever the power and presence is that has created everything, right? It had to create everything out of itself, because there was nothing else to create from other than itself. Otherwise, there would have been the power and then something else. Whereas most major religions and philosophies are very clear that in the beginning, whatever the beginning was, the beginning when we started counting time, that there was only this infinite power and presence. And that from that infinite power and presence, whether it was the Big Bang, whether it was some act of involution, it created everything out of itself. The water, the mountains, the grass, all of the animals in the sky and in the sea and on the land and in the galaxies. It created everything out of itself. Therefore, everything, just like it has been proven scientifically that the stuff that the stars are made out of, we're also made out of the same thing. Therefore, this idea, right? This idea that recover, like what I recover from, is that I recover to recognizing that I am one with this power and presence. I love what Jan is saying right here, because she takes us right back to the book here, and it says, I've recovered from a hopeless state of mind, right? And body, I've recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body. I am no longer hopeless. I am no longer helpless. The hopelessness has been removed, and I am now open for all good possibilities Spirit has to offer. Hello. Hello, that's what I love about the show, is that you get an opportunity to be heard, to be seen, to participate, and that together in this spiritual learning community that we help each other out. I have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. So in other words, my thinking, which there was a mental twist to, that tells me that I need to engage more and more in my weapons of mass distraction, whether it's drugs or alcohol or whether it's any other weapons of mass distraction, that instead of engaging in that, I'm recovered that I from this seemingly hopeless state of mind. In other words, there's something else. And in our spiritual practice of just being in awe of life itself, we regain consciousness. And by that I mean we regain a relationship with life. And we recognize our oneness in life, our oneness with all of life. That I am not separate from you and you're not separate from me, that we are indeed one. That I get this opportunity to recognize that now there's a bug in here. That I get this opportunity to recognize that my life and the life of the bug is one. It bothers me right now, but that spirit, that life that bug has and the life that I have is the same life. And being in awe of that and recognizing that, it's like, whoa. I have within me, and I am a power and a presence and a force. And I can choose to be distracted by these other things, or I can bring my attention to this power and presence and allow myself, as Jan stated, to be open for the possibilities that Spirit has to offer, that life has to offer me. I become open and available. And so in this moment, let's just pause wherever it is that you are and breathe and recognize that you are life. You don't have life. You are life. You are life itself. You have a name, you have a body, but the infinite intelligence that created everything is your very life. And just simply now become open and available to life. Become open and available and just, life, show me the best possibility I can have. Show me how to let go of these weapons of mass distraction. Show me what an amazing life looks like. Show me peace. Show me love. Let me discover that within myself. Let me discover that I don't need any addition to me to be whole, perfect, and complete. That's what we recover. That sense of wholeness, that sense of I am life itself. So, beloveds, that's the message for today on A Spiritual Remedy. I trust that it brings you some food for thought. I would love some more topics in which to discuss, so please send me some emails or even jot down here in the chat the things that you would like to talk about, so then in future shows I can bring that to you. I also just want to highlight that Vida Spiritual Learning Center is here for you. If you want to learn how to pray, how to meditate, if you want to learn and go deeper into your spiritual growth and unfoldment, please reach out to us. Also, the gratitude list. I have been out of the country and have not sent my gratitude, but I appreciate all of you sending yours. As soon as I come back in the country on Saturday, you will begin to receive those again. Well, our time is up. I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. And until the next time, have a safe and wonderful week. Bye for now.